Rust-proofing. The Chiefs have just come out on the ice for a warm-up period. They're about to try for their 5th consecutive win. They're getting a good round of applause from their own booster club, who have traveled all the way from Charlestown to be here in Peterborough tonight.
Need more energy throughout the day? Looking for a kick to your workout? RockinThatIDLife.com has you covered with delicious flavors you've grown to love in tropical fruit and mixed berry, but now fall in love with the new fruit punch and orange flavors. Try them all at RockinThatIDLife.com.
Realtor Mike Burgoyne with Real Brokerage LLC makes the moving process easier. Work with a realtor who plays and studies the game and will work as hard as the boys on the ice to get you the best deal. Check out Mike on the web at strikewithmike.com and jumpstart your move today. That's strikewithmike.com.
Welcome to episode 11 of season 12. This is episode number 420. All time of the often imitated, never duplicated. Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight? I ask that of all my prey. I just like the sound of it. We're the original St. Louis Blues hockey podcast, Let's Go Blues Radio. Special thanks to our sponsors, RockinThatIDLife.com, StrikeWithMike.com, and CenterIceBrewery.com for proudly sponsoring the show. Please check them out. Also, don't forget to check out our t-shirt shop at Let'sGoBlues.com for some well-designed and fairly priced blues-themed t-shirts. It is Tuesday, July 11th. We're streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. To interact with the show on social media, our handle on all channels is LGB Radio. Search for us and you'll find us. If you haven't already done so, please like, follow, subscribe, ring the bell, buy a t-shirt from our shop, use a tin can and a string, and tell your neighbor about us, or do whatever you can do to help us out. I'm your host, Jeff Ponder, and I'm joined by the man himself, Bill Day. Kurt Price and producer Austin are on assignment. The agenda for tonight includes discussion about NHL free agency, and will reveal the first two selections at right wing for the Let's Go Blues Radio all-time St. Louis Blues team. All that and more on this podcast landscape-changing episode of Let's Go Blues Radio. We had a weird last-minute thing within the last 45 minutes. Vanessa Graff, friend of the show, was supposed to join us. She's having what I like to call tummy trouble. I have no idea if that's actually the case. I know she's just not feeling well. So we had to call an audible. Bill Day, as you can see if you're watching the video, is not in his normal spot. He is in his record area downtown. So a nice new different look for Bill, but he is jumping on last minute, and we might even have another special guest join us later. Bill, thank you very much for coming on and helping me out tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. It's busy summer nights, but had enough time to pop in and join in on this one. Haven't partook. I'm out of practice with my words, so forgive me. But I haven't done one of these, one of the reveal shows yet. So I felt wanted to be involved with this a little bit more. So happy to be here. And never mind if you hear clicking sounds. That's just Sheldon working on his nails right now.
Let's see.
Surrounded by two dogs. Okay. Yeah, there's Sheldon.
And you got some nice records behind you too. What are those behind you?
Behind these concert posters. So
okay.
I think over my left shoulder, Young the Giants, when they were with played Verizon or Riverport, as us old timers call it, a couple years back with Cold War Kids. Probably best show of the summer 2017. Above that is My Morning Jacket from the Peabody 2015, I think. Saw them in Nashville. And then I think the upper right is something I got from the My Morning Jacket fan club years and years ago. So we're big concert goers in this house, and we have a whole bunch from this summer that we still have to put up. So
nice. That's awesome. Yeah, I know you saw was it The Cure in Chicago? That had to be a pretty sweet show.
Yep. Yep, and we have a poster from that show that's probably going to replace my morning jacket up on the right. We saw the National also in Chicago, the opener for their current tour. So we got one for that, and then we're junkies for the National. We're a huge fan. If you don't know them, check them out a little bit. Start with Boxer and work your way forward. We saw them in Montreal. That was the band I went to see in Montreal in 2017. So if I'm in Chicago, we're going to see them in Cincinnati. Their hometown. They do a 2-day festival, and they announced today that they're playing 2 albums in their entirety, one on Friday, one on Saturday, and really looking forward to that. So, yeah,
That sounds awesome.
big concert people, like I said.
Oh yeah, I can tell. So yeah, we did not have a show last week, which I know is jarring for our listeners that tune in every week. Things just got crazy for me. I'm kind of the one that runs the ship on over the summer, and I just couldn't do it. And Bill had stuff going on, Kurt had stuff going on. So with it being 4th of July, it was just a weird week. So do want to apologize for that for anyone who missed us last week. We also were planning on doing like a live show, and we would have done that if the Blues would have done anything, but obviously nothing was really done. There's some stuff we'll talk about here in a couple minutes with free agency, but we all just kind of felt like if we're going to miss a week, this is probably the week to do it. So that's what happened. So do want to apologize to our listeners for that, but I think you guys got enough content from us the week before. We talked a lot about the Kevin Hayes stuff, the draft, the Torrey Krug fiasco. So, but we'll bring some more content for you tonight. Hope you enjoy it. Speaking of more content, if any of you who are listeners of other hockey podcasts, maybe you've tuned into the Puck podcast. I did have time to co-host that last week with Eddie Garcia of the Puck podcast. So Doug Smallhand over there, he is he's out of town and actually out of the country. He's in Japan for 3 weeks. So while he's out, I will be co-hosting the Puck podcast with Eddie. I'll be doing that again this week and again next week. So you can expect the next episode. I believe we're recording tomorrow, so we will be posting that probably Thursday. So if you want your fill of me and sprinkling in Blues talk in a national hockey show, you can get that because I do. I try to sprinkle in as much Blues talk just to piss all the other fans of other teams off as much as I can. So I will do that again. So Bill, let's get to our beers of the episode. I think you said you have one tonight. We'll start with you. What do you got?
I'm cleaning out the fridge, getting ready for I'm trying to get one of my fridges cleared out of all my old beers. So ill repute pumpkin stout from last year from Poor Hands. So this we suffered a power outage and had to get rid of a lot of things. So the old beers that were in the one fridge in the garage, I couldn't pour them out, so I'm forcing my way through them. It's actually still pretty good. So.
Yeah, it's good. No, same here. We didn't have a power outage. We had an internet outage, which thank God for you. You guys don't have a child. I know you have dogs that can, and it's summer heat just sucks, but we didn't have internet. And so my child, first of all, if we don't have internet and we turn on like regular TV or even DVDs, he does not understand. This generation doesn't understand commercials, previews before the movie can play. Like that just is a foreign concept. And so we were trying to like pop in Blu-rays or like just watch like Channel 2, and he was just did not like yelling like, what the hell is this? I told you to play cartoons, kind of thing. And it's like, dude, this is the way I grew up. You got to deal with this when we don't have internet. We didn't have it for was it 5 days? I think we went from Friday to Tuesday last week. That was part of the reason I didn't do a show, is because everything I needed to do that involved internet had to get pushed back a couple days. So I'm like, you know what? Sorry, the podcast has to take a back seat. But no power. My God, do you have like a generator? Were you able to like, get AC somehow? Did you have to go somewhere else? What did you guys do?
So we luckily, it wasn't excessively hot. We don't have a generator, and of course, those conversations have now started.
Yes.
But yeah, we don't have a generator. So we were without AC. I'll tell you this: the basement where I'm at now, these are 12-foot ceilings, and it just stayed cold. Like I wound up sleeping down here Monday night while trying to. It Yeah, the dogs were pretty much a mess with this thing going on, so I didn't sleep a whole lot. But down here, it was still probably 68 degrees, so not bad at all. Like right now, I'm freezing, just with the regular AC running. But yeah, upstairs, I think it got up to about 80. We wound up losing most of our, yeah, so that was the worst part. Not enough to where we would file an insurance claim because the deductible wouldn't have been met. But yeah, it's we've had a couple of these in my life. We once had a week-long power outage when we lived in Cahokia, and that was hell. Tiny box house, and yeah, that time we went and stayed with some relatives for a week. But this time, 24 plus 30 hours, and we had power back on Monday morning. But
jeez, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, I think I would probably have gone like. I was gonna say, if we would have had power but not internet, I probably would have been driven nuts too. But
yeah, oh yeah, I bet. Yeah. So, well, I guess I should get to my beer. Yeah. So we've got we're drinking out of my Duff cup tonight, my Duff glass, one of the many I got from Universal last year. Drinking some of my favorite summer brew, some Leinenkugel summer shandy. Just a good, tasty summer beer. I think you've said before too, Bill, your go-to right after you mow the lawn. That is what I always have after I mow.
Yeah, some kind of summer shandy. Right now I've got in the as I say, in the beer fridge, I've got not. I think I like the Leinenkugel better.
Yeah, good stuff. So again, we'll open up talking about just some couple things around the NHL. Again, we did miss last week, so we will talk a little bit about free agency before we get into revealing our right winger 1 and 2 on the new on the Blues all-time team. So first of all, happy birthday to Al MacInnis and Jordan Binnington. Al MacInnis turns the big 6-0, which that is crazy to me. We keep and Bill, I'm sure you're the same way. We see these, heroes from our childhood, and for you, I think more of like the Mike Liuta era for you. But for Al MacInnis, like that's who I grew up like trying to model my game after. Pronger, obviously, too. But like just seeing these guys get up in age 60, 65, 70, it's kind of it's one of those things that reminds you, holy shit, I am not young anymore.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think the guy that the age that I tracked was Patrick Waugh. Patrick Waugh, Marilyn, we both had the share a birthday. I think October 1st, 65. Yeah, and when they hit 50, I was like, oh man, we're old. So yeah, not they're gonna hit 50 in just 2 years. That's crazy.
Yep. Jordan Binnington also again turns 30. So he's getting up there a little bit, and celebrate getting out of his 20s, and he also just got married just a couple days ago to Chris Prosperi, who's pretty big on Instagram and Twitter and all that. So congratulations to them, and a couple big days for the Blues starting goaltender. Hopefully, we'll see if he has a better year this year, but a couple big days for him here this summer, and hopefully getting his mind off this past terrible Blues season.
Yeah. Not his fault by any stretch, but hopefully all around better for the team.
Mm-hmm. So talking about NHL free agency, as I mentioned, we did miss a show last week, so we'll talk a little bit about what's been going on. So we'll talk about familiar names here, and then of course, Bill, I'll open up to you if there's anything else, or Fritz, or Sheldon, if any of you want to mention anything going on there within the NHL. So the Blues signings this week, they have brought back Mackenzie McEachern at 2 years, $1.55 million. That's $775,000, AAV per year. And they've also signed Malcolm Subban for 1 year at $775,000 okay, so we'll talk about those, and then we'll get into the rest of these real quick. Those are the big ones. I say big ones, but those are the ones that are somewhat of note because they were not re-signings by any stretch of the imagination. McEachern comes back. He left the Blues for a short period, and then he comes back now, and we'll see if he slots in on that fourth line, if he's a 13th forward for the Blues. It's a two-way deal, I believe, so we could see him back in the AHL as well. But I will say, and I'm indifferent, whatever. At this point, you need bodies to fill an NHL roster. McEachern knows the Berube system. I'm fine with them bringing him back and just kind of giving him another shot. There was stretches in that cup run, especially, where I loved his game. Before we talk about the backup goalie, any thoughts from you, Bill, on Mr. Mackenzie McEachern returning back to the St. Louis Blues?
I mean, it's the names we're talking about is the reason why we didn't have a show last week, right? Because they're not big splashes by any stretch of the imagination. McEachern's just a safe deal, right? He got some time with Carolina in the playoff run this year. Looked pretty good. Played pretty well with Stastny, I thought. In the limited time I got to watch Carolina games, but having him back is definitely going to be good. He'll kind of replace the Josh Levos of that team, right? Just can get sent down because of the two-way deal. Knows the system, like you said, but a guy who's just, he's a reliable guy that can play at the NHL level. But if we don't need him here, he'll be a great, top two liner for. Yeah.
Yep. We do have another co-host coming in, folks. We have a special guest. I forgot what he called. We already said we call him special guest contributor, something like that. I'll have him correct me. Stephen Ground from Two Guys, One Cup has rejoined the show, and yes, he's revealing another position with us tonight. Stephen, thank you. Last minute as well. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Of course. I've learned I'm the guy that you call when literally every other option has collapsed from underneath you. So, I'm happy to fill that role from time to time.
You know me too well, sir.
Mm-hmm.
No, this again, I told this at the start of the show. We had somebody who was supposed to come on, got sick, and unfortunately none of originally none of the Let's Go Blues guys could do it. Bill is not even in his usual spot. He's hanging out in the basement drinking, was like, why not? I'll come on and talk hockey. Why not? And and so I thought, what, I'm going to text Steven too. If he's available, it'd be good to have him too. So I really do appreciate you last minute stepping in. I went from having to do the show solo to having two guest hosts. How about that?
There we go.
So talking about goaltending real quick, Malcolm Subban was the other big. Again, I say big, but the other notable, I guess, signing the Blues have made 1 year, $775,000 signing. He is likely to be the AHL goalie as well, but I love this. I think I said this at the end of the season. You're not bringing back Grice, which I'm perfectly fine with. I think you did
I'll
need to go
feed your
out
shade.
and get. Yeah. You do need to go out and get some kind of backup, potential backup, not only in case there's an injury at the NHL level, but to battle Joel Hofer, to give him that competition for that backup role in training camp. The Blues did this, and I know this is an extreme example. The Blues did this about 10 years ago now when they brought in Brian Elliott. The only reason he was brought in originally was to battle Ben Bishop and make him more competitive in training camp to get that backup role to Yaroslav Halak. Well, we also, what Brian Elliott did as a St. Louis Blue, he took the job, ran with it, still in the NHL at this point. So good for him. I'm not saying that's going to be Malcolm Subban. That is an extreme example of somebody getting signed to a contract like this and running with it. But I love it. Give that competition to Hofer. I'll go to you first, Steven. Your thoughts on Malcolm Subban joining the St. Louis Blues organization?
Yeah, I think it's a great decision. As pretty much agree with everything you said. It's cool. Apparently, he has, just judging by his presence at the wedding last weekend, already has a relationship with Bennington that must be pretty close, which you assume dates back to days in Providence. Maybe I think they were both in that organization. So, well, obviously Bennington wasn't in that organization, but you know what I mean. So, right. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a good addition. I have a couple friends who do, some podcasting and writing for Buffalo, and say he's a great personality, and they really loved having him there. So, I think probably your AHL goalie down there with Zhurenko. Hopefully everything works out with Hofer, but definitely a guy with some NHL experience if either of your goalies goes down or struggles or, whatever the case may be. So you don't have to throw a Hofer into the fire for the whole thing or Zhurenko or whatever else. So I like it.
From Ken Morris, yes. How old is Subban? He is 29. So, kind of in the prime of his career, I guess. He was a pretty high draft pick, was he not? Wasn't he a first rounder? Who knows? Goalies, yeah,
right? First or second rounder, but yeah. Right.
24th overall pick. Yep.
Yeah, but Bill, your thoughts? I don't know. Do you agree with Steven and I? Anything different to add? Anything else about the Subban?
Yeah. No, I think it makes a lot of sense. You get a guy with NHL experience. He's been had some minutes in Buffalo and Chicago at the big league level. His track record in the A is very good. Having that kind of guy as a number 3 goalie, being able to come up if one of the top 2 gets hurt. I think it's Hofer's job as the backup, but there's like a veteran AHL presence to really help mentor Zhurenko and kind of get him through this next year is going to be excellent for him. Last year, first year over here, at least in the pro level, and having a more veteran presence to help him along instead of splitting time with another guy who's pushing to make it to the next level, I think is going to be big for Zhurenko, who's more the long-term prospect for the team. I mean, I think it's really Hofer that will take over if Bennington winds up, out of here within a couple of seasons. But I like it. Yep. I think it's a great organizational move.
Yep, I agree with that. All right, so other signings by the Blues. Tyler Sucker is what I almost said. Good Lord. Wow, I hope that name doesn't stick. Tyler Tucker signs a... Go ahead.
Yeah, that's the old Sam Pollock quote, right? My name's Tucker, not Sucker.
Yeah,
The old Montreal GM whenever somebody would pose a bad trade.
So Tyler Tucker signs a 2-year, one-way, $1.6 million deal, $800,000 AAV at the NHL level. Well, actually, that's all the time because it's a one-way deal. And then Hugh McGing also signs a 1-year, $775,000 contract. Wyatt Kalynuk, I probably am butchering that. He's a defenseman, 1 year, same price, $775,000. And then Josh Jacobs, also a defenseman, 1 year, $775,000. So none of these are blowing our skirts up. Tyler Tucker is maybe the one that stands
I
out.
got 15 minutes prepared on Wyatt Kalynuk. I don't know why you're.
All right, let's hear it.
No.
Go.
I don't know why you're cutting me off. No. I feel neglected now.
Okay, good. Dude, save it for 2 guys, 1 cup.
Yeah, that's right. That's where you get the real deep Wyatt Kalynuk takes. That's what we're known for.
I was gonna say that's what everybody was talking about. Oh, you guys want to know about him? Go to 2 guys, 1 cup.
Thank you. I'm glad the reputation spread.
Yeah. So none of these are crazy. Tyler Tucker is obviously the one that's going to stand out because that means for the most part he is going to be expected to start and stay in the NHL. But Hugh McGing, guy we saw a little bit of here at the NHL level, but I'm hearing he is loved in the AHL. So just some depth moves here for the Blues. Again, trying to make sure they're shelling out an NHL and AHL roster. You need these guys in the lineup, and who knows? Maybe one of them hits, and all of a sudden you're talking about Wyatt Kalynuk being in the Blues top 2.
You will be. I do think, just as an aside on this, I did think it was funny seeing somebody say, "Oops, sorry, go ahead, Billy."
All right, nobody talk.
No, it's. I was going to say, I still think that Hugh McGing is in witness protection. That can't possibly be his real name. It just can't be.
That's true. That's fair. Yeah, I think for Tucker, the funny thing to me was I saw a lot of people saying, "Well, we now have, I think it's 9 defensemen on one-way contracts. That means the trade has to be happening." And I'm like, we might trade like Callie Rosen for future considerations at training camp, but doesn't guarantee that a big contract is moving out, or we might just waive one of these guys. There's a lot of ways to do that. Doesn't mean
well, and let's face it too. You can start a one-way contract in the AHL. They're going to have to clear waivers at the start, but we see every year, and I think people just forget this. Every year, you see 1 or 2 guys, almost from every team, have to go through waivers before the official roster starts. So
yeah, it's
that means nothing.
Safest time to send a guy through waivers too, because you have 300 other people going through. So
yeah, right. Yep, and it's the same conversation we had 2 weeks ago on this show with some people saying, well, the Blues didn't draft well because, well, I say some people, it was one person, because they took 4 left-handed defensemen. What the hell are you thinking? And it's like, they're not all playing in the NHL this year, guy. Like, it doesn't matter. They're assets to this team. It doesn't exactly mean that they're going to be playing in the NHL even 2 years from now. So same here. Yeah, you could have 12 defensemen on one-way contracts. Guess what? A couple of those guys are going to be in the AHL. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
The only big, so again, I say big, the only loss that the Blues had in free agency truly is Logan Brown has signed with the Tampa Bay Lightning and 1 year, $775,000. So they traded Pat Maroon to the Minnesota Wild. I guess they decided they needed another clunker on the team. So they went with Logan Brown.
They're following the Blues path, right? No Maroon, and so Maroon and Sanford were on the team, and we let Maroon walk, and Sanford was our guy, and then we swapped him for Brown. So they're like, maybe we should follow this path to say, yeah, we're not in it anymore.
Maybe they are like, well, Matthew Tkachuk's a St. Louis boy, and he's doing well over there in Florida. Let's, Pat Maroon brought us a couple cups. because it's clearly on the shoulders of him. Maybe they're like, let's get another St. Louis kid. That's clearly the key.
That is one of those things, though, where Tampa Bay is so good at talent evaluation that when I see them at him, I'm like, maybe we missed something.
Yeah, right.
I think we know what Logan Brown is at this point.
Yep.
Which is not to say that he's a terrible player, but it's just not.
He's no, he'd be great in the Brentwood men's league.
I could use him on my H&A team. That would be very awesome. Logan, give me a call. So I do want to mention a couple signings here that really it's just because these guys were technically on the roster last year, and there was some talk. Do the Blues bring back some of the guys they traded? Well, the answer to that is no, because all of them have signed elsewhere. Ivan Barbashev re-signed with the Vegas Golden Knights. The Blues traded him to 5 years, $25 million. So that's a $5 million AAV, which is a nice little pay bump for him. Nico Mikkola signed with the Florida Panthers, 3 years, $7.5 million. That's a $2.5 million AAV. Not bad for him, but I was like, that might be a little much. I don't know. What do you guys think? We don't need to break all these down too much, but I saw that and I was a little surprised. I'm like, you're giving 3 years, 2.5 to a guy who really, to me, hasn't proven much. And I do think Nico Mikkola is going to be an NHL player for a while, but I'm just surprised that he got a 3-year deal anywhere. I thought somebody might have given him 1, maybe 2 years.
Feels like a little much to me, I think.
Yeah.
Definitely just similar to you. Like, I don't think it's like some dramatic overpay that they're going to regret for years, but
right.
There's nothing that NHL general managers love more than a big old defenseman. So I guess he just gets that pay bump for being tall and being kind of physical, although not really. I don't think so.
But he's big, so he should be physical, right?
Yeah,
it's in his nature. I mean, I think the term's not that big a deterrent for a trade, right? If Florida will have him for, they expect to be good again this year. Who knows? I think with Tkachuk, they are really going to try to go for it. They were so close this year. So it's an interesting gamble on a guy that didn't really help New York all that much and is in and out here. But I think that given his age and his size, the 2.5 is going to be easy enough to move, even with 2 years on that. So not a terrible deal, I don't think.
I agree, not terrible. Just a little surprised.
Before Tarasenko.
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
I do. He's upstairs passed out because he was up at 3:30 this morning.
Whoa.
He was up from 3:30 to 5 because he's an asshole. And he was just like, he just decides I'm gonna get up and start playing and just making a bunch of noise in my room. Like he didn't bother us. He didn't come in to bother us, but I hear him up and I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? And I'm like, if I go in there, I know he's just gonna expect to come back to bed with me and he's gonna keep me up. So I'm like, I'm just gonna let him sit in there. And yeah, he was up from 3:30 to 5. I'm like, you are an insane boy. So yeah, he is past the F out right now. He was about 8 o'clock. He was ready for bed. And I was like, nope, you're staying up till at least 9 because you are not getting up at 3:30 again. So now it'll be 4:30.
You bumped it back.
So Nola Chari signs with Pittsburgh Penguins, 3 years, $6 million. That's a $2 million AAV. And the big one, I think this one was I called this the major bummer of the year for me. Ryan O'Reilly signs with the Nashville Predators, 4 years, $18 million. That's a $4.5 million AAV. I say it's a major bummer because I really did I think he was going to come back? Maybe. I was at about a 50-50 by the time July 1st rolled around. And I was like, but, he's only going to come back if maybe his family decides we don't actually want to leave St. Louis. We want to retire there. That's the only way he comes back. The Blues aren't going to throw a bunch of money at him. One, because they don't have it. And two, because what's the point? They're not going for anything. The bummer for me was more Nashville. Fucking Nashville had to sign him. So we're going to see him. Thank you, NHL schedule. We're only going to see him 3 times this year. It's like he's in the other division. But still, it is a division rival. In 4 years, that is a lot of term for him. I thought most the team would give him would be 3. And $4.5 million per year. In 4 years, Nashville's going to regret this contract. So when you look at that, I say, thank God the Blues didn't try to match that. I don't know if there was even an option for him to. But, for me, the bummer is more sucks he's in Nashville. But for Nashville, I'm like, I don't think this is a good signing for them at all. 2 years, sure, they're going to love him. 2 years after that, it's going to be a decline, even more than we saw last year.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think Nashville's so weird. They're so weird. Have you looked at their roster? They're like rebuilding, but not. I mean, they've got UC Saros, so I guess they're always like semi-competitive, but I don't get him wanting to. Well, I get him wanting to be there because he loves music and guitars, and it's Nashville, whatever. Super overrated, lame, sucky city, but whatever. But if that's your thing, that's your thing. But I think it's a weird signing for them, and they just can't seem to decide what they're doing exactly. But
you're right. I mean, jettisoning Johansson and Duchesne, right? It's like they publicly admitted that the ultra aggressive moves that they were credited for a couple of years ago just blew up in their face. I really, I thought, there was talk of Saros getting moved. That I forget the name of the Russian goalie that they've got in Milwaukee. That they thought that he might be just give him the reins. We're not going to compete this year, but give him some NHL experience. Don't make any major moves. Trade Saros for picks, and that'll be the retooling. The fuel. You get assets there that will help a retool, like Doug Armstrong wants to do here. That Torrey Krug fucked up, but I don't know. You're so spot on with saying that Nashville is such a weird team now, right? Roman Josi is, he is a extremely, like probably one of the best leaders in a locker room in the NHL right now. And you're basically saying, you're betting on Ryan O'Reilly to infuse this team after taking away 2 very potent offensive weapons that just probably weren't used right. So it'll be interesting to see how it works out. I agree with Jeff. If they haven't moved him for picks before his value is completely gone, they will be regretting it.
Yeah, I'm fine with them at 4 years. If it brings that AAV down, talking in terms of GM, not a rival. 4 years, okay, bring that AAV down, and maybe that's what happened. Maybe originally it was he wants $5 million per, so getting him that 4th year brought him in a 4.5. But I'm like, if I'm giving you a 4th year, we're going down to 3.8. Like I'm not giving him 4.5 per for 4 years. It's a lot of money for a guy. Yes, he had a little bit of a resurgence with Toronto. He looked great in the playoffs for him. But, and again, it's weird because we're looking at it like, well, if Nashville makes the playoffs, this might be a genius move. Are they trying to make the playoffs? We don't know. Nobody knows except, I guess, Barry Trotz. Very odd. All right. Well, guys, we are going to hit our commercial here. I'm as they say in the radio business, I'm up against a commercial break, guys. So that is what we're going to do. When we get back, we'll reveal our first two right wings of the all-time Blues team. You are listening to Jeff Bill and Stephen Ground of Two Guys, One Cup here on Let's Go Blues Radio.
We'll return after these messages.
Every beer league hockey night, I grab my hockey bag and sticks and throw them in the trunk of my car. And the very next thing I do, I mix up a boost of energy courtesy of RockinThatIDLife.com. It's formulated to break up its delivery in 3 ways, which helps me get through all 3 periods of hockey. Phase 1 provides a rapid onset of energy, concentration, alertness, and motivation. By period 2, I'm receiving a dose of sustained energy, increased focus, metabolism, cognitive function, performance, and feelings of well-being, which I need with the way I play. In Phase 3, I'm getting fatigue protection without jitters and crash, an elevated mood, and a reduction of fluid retention to help me make the big play when it counts. This same triphasic approach helps me when I drink it during work hours or simply just for a pick-me-up when I need it. Try one of the 4 energy flavors by visiting RockinThatIDLife.com, but make sure to email Dustin at RockinThatIDLife@gmail.com and tell him Let's Go Blues Radio sent you to receive an additional 10% off your order. That's RockinThatIDLife.com.
Center Ice Brewery is a beer lover's dream for hockey fans. Based in St. Louis, Missouri, owner Steve Albers has been brewing hockey-themed favorites for thirsty sports fans since 2017. From the Beauty IPA to the Old Arena Lager, a cold, frosty, hockey-themed beer is just what the doctor ordered for hockey fans in St. Louis. Make sure to check your local beer store for Center Ice Brewery beer today. LGB. Let's go beer.
During the magical 2019 playoff run, I was in the midst of buying my current home. Every time I spoke with my realtor, obviously, home buying was the discussion. But in the back of my mind, I couldn't stop thinking about what was destined to happen for our St. Louis hockey team. If only there were a realtor who could have walked me through the process, held my hand when needed, but was there to be a sounding board when I wanted to complain about a certain hand pass goal. Let realtor Mike Burgoyne with Real Brokerage be that for you. He'll have your needs top of mind as he skates you through the home buying or selling process, dangling you past any obstacles and assisting on all your home goals. Check out strikewithmike.com for more information or give him a call directly at 314-753-4060. That's Mike Burgoyne with Real Brokerage at strikewithmike.com, and that number again is 314-753-4060. Don't forget to tell Mike that Let's Go Blues Radio sent you.
And now, back to Let's Go Blues Radio, the longest running St. Louis Blues podcast with Price, Ponder, and Day.
All right, we are back, and before we get into the reveal for the first 2 right wings of the St. Louis Blues all-time team here on Let's Go Blues Radio, I did want to mention that St. Louis has I don't know if it's official, but they are bidding to host the Hockey World Junior Championships in 2026. Steven, you look surprised. Did you not know this?
I hadn't seen that yet. That's awesome.
Yeah, so very exciting to see. We'll probably have more on this as the story develops. But it's looking like they're making a big deal for it. I hope they get it. That would be incredible. We've got enough rinks here, definitely, that could host something like that. So we'll have more as I know it involves the St. Louis Sports Commission, and of course the St. Louis Blues are involved as well. So we'll see what comes of that. But very exciting news if you've not heard that.
I will certainly spend that week or 2 in St. Louis.
Sports Commission. Yeah. They're infused with some cash from a certain Stan Kroenke. From what I understand, they were talking about how that money is going to get divvied up. This would be a great use for it. I would be so excited. We haven't had something like this really since we had the Frozen Four in 2007. It'd be a huge win to get that here.
Oh yeah. Oh, that Frozen Four was awesome too. My brother and I spent like all day that one Saturday up at I guess at the time was that Scott Trade at the time. Yeah, we were up there like all day. I remember Craig McTavish sat next to us. It was just we saw him taking notes, and I'm like, that's Craig McTavish. He's just plopping down next to us. So like it was just it's that kind of thing is just so much fun to witness. Obviously we watch professional hockey here, but being able to see the best of the best in college, and then like we're talking about here with junior players, that would be a hell of a time here in St. Louis. And Steven, yes, you better be up here for that if that happens.
Oh, I absolutely will be. I got the pleasure to go up to Traverse City a couple of times for the Blues Prospect Tournament out there. Sadly, they stopped going this year. Hopefully that's not forever, but that's just awesome. Being in that environment, surrounded by hockey people and just, really diehard hockey fans, it can't be beat. It's great.
Oh, yeah, it is the best. Well, let's see. Ken Morris here says, hope St. Louis gets the bid to host the World Juniors. Yeah, with you, Ken. Hey, make a trip down here if that happens. It'd be fun to have you down here in St. Louis. Hopefully you can. I know you're on the run from the law, so it might be hard to get your passport, but we're hoping you can do it there, Ken. So the 35th anniversary. Well, first of all, let's talk about it. Another reveal here, guys. We talked about left wing a couple weeks ago. It seems like forever ago now, because that was before the draft, before free agency. But now we were talking about right wing. We're going to reveal 2 players tonight, the first 2 spots on the all-time team. The 35th anniversary team back in 2002 when the Blues did this kind of thing. They had Brett Hull, Joe Mullen, Scott Young, and Wayne Babbage. So we'll see if any of those guys make the list here in 2023 for the anniversary or for the all-time team. So we will. Ken Morris says witness protection. Yeah, Ken, you don't need to be claiming that. I mean, it's a good way for people to find you. So be careful. Hopefully, that's not your real name.
Cuba Gang?
So our first reveal here, guys. I don't need to build up suspense because this is another no-brainer. We had one with McInnes and Pronger. Left wing was a little bit of a maybe we'll see. There's no question here. Number 1 right wing on the all-time team, Brett Hull. He keeps his spot that he had there on the 35th anniversary team. So he, in his career, which running down this list, holy shit, strap yourselves in. Here we go. 8 All-Star games, 7 with the Blues, played with the Flames, Blues, Stars, Red Wings, and most notably the Phoenix Coyotes. 5 games, by the way. I did look that up because we talked about it a couple weeks ago. We're like, how many games did he even play? It was 5. 1989-90 Lady Byng Memorial Trophy winner. 1990-91 Hart Memorial Trophy winner. 1990-91 Lindsay Award. He was also listed as the one of the NHL's 100 greatest players in 2018. Inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 2009. His best season as a Blue came into the aforementioned 1990-91 season. 78 games played, 86 goals, 45 assists, 131 points. My favorite stat of Brett Hull's is this next note that I have here. In that season, 86 goals, the second largest total by a player. No empty net goals. I need to look up what Wayne Gretzky had when he posted 92 goals, but I know that we have had that before, and I think he had like 8 or 9 at least. So when you're talking about goals on a goalie, Brett Hull actually holds that record if you take empty net goals out of the equation, which is extremely impressive.
I also think that's the best era, whatever they do, the advanced metric for era adjusted goals scored. I think that's the best season on record.
That's
in that
insane
as well.
Not surprising at all. So Blues stats, which again, this is just staggering to look at. Number 6 all time in games played with 744. Number 1 in goals at 527. And I have a note here. Bernie Federko is second on that list with 352. So more than 100 more than the second place player for Brett Hull. Number 2 in assists, which is something people don't think about with Brett Hull. He was a very good assist man. A lot of them were rebounds, yes, but he actually was a very good passer, good at faking the shot and getting it over to a teammate. Number 2 in assists at 409, number 2 in points at 936, number 1 in even strength goals at 314. Second place for that, Bernie Federko only had 233, so almost 100 more there. Number 1 in power play goals at 195. Federko only had 117 in second place. Number 2 in shorthanded goals at 18. We all, those that remember him playing, remember him jumping over the boards on the penalty kill and pretty much just knowing there was going to be a shorthanded goal. Number 1 in game-winning goals at 70. Second is Pavel Dimitra at 45, so he has a ton more than the second place there. Number 1 in shots at 3,367. Gary Unger is second at 2,469, so he almost has 1,000 more shots than anyone else in Blues history. Number 1 in hat tricks with 27. And again, second place there, Bernard Federko only had 11. Finished his career with 1,269 games played, 741 goals, 650 assists, 1,391 points. His goal total at 741 is 5th in NHL history. His point total is 25th in NHL history. So a lot of numbers thrown at you. Anybody who is anybody, even if you've been a fan of the Blues for 2 years, you know who Brett Hull is. Obviously, there's other reasons you might know Brett Hull, which we can talk about if you guys want. But his play on the ice, one of the most dominant players in NHL history, let alone a St. Louis Blue, and just a sniper among snipers. The only other player I've been able to see get a shot off like him is Alexander Ovechkin, who recently passed him in goal totals. Brett Hull, slam dunk. No way anyone even comes close on right wing in Blues history. I don't think there's any shock here.
Yeah, no, not whatsoever.
Why don't we start with Bill? You saw him play. Anything to add from what we've talked about with stats?
Yeah, stat-wise, no. You can't argue with those numbers. He was in his playing days. The most electric player. Every game you went to, you knew there was going to be, so many offensive chances created. The guy was just lethal, whether, getting off a one-timer from the slot or, setting up somebody with drawing defense to him, getting a shot through and allowing somebody to poke in an easy rebound. The guy was offensively the most gifted player that this franchise has ever seen. We can largely credit the newer the Kiel Center at the time, the Enterprise Center now, to Brett Hull, right? He was such a large presence. Got when it almost died during the Ralston Purina, Harry Ornest era. With poor management, he brought so many kids. For me, as somebody who grew up playing hockey locally here in St. Louis, there was no bigger draw to the game. We had so many more people come out and sign up after Brett Hull came here in the late 80s. That he really revived the sport in this town. I think that's, to me, kind of the thing that's always understated about him, and his tenure here. And the game changed, and he wasn't ready to evolve with it at the time, and so we had to say goodbye to him. But what his legacy here, it is he definitely got to be probably the number one person on this list at any position.
Yep, I'll agree with that. Steven?
Yeah, like you said, obvious choice, no brainer here. I think I don't know what more needs to be said, honestly. I did look at that era adjusted goal scoring thing. This is from 2017, admittedly, but I don't think anything that's happened since then would have broken that. He scored 86 goals that season. The idea of area adjusted, for anyone who doesn't know, is just that since, the goal scoring is more or less common at different times in hockey history, they try to level the playing field and kind of average how much a goal would be, worth per era. They actually averaged it down 8 goals. So the era adjusted total is 78, and that is still 6 goals more than any other season. Alex Ovechkin's 07-08 65 goal total is in second place. So just an offensive force, creative and lethal, like you both said, probably the most lethal shooter in Blues history. Certainly, maybe one of the most lethal scorers in NHL history. It sucks that he didn't end up getting to win the cup here, but he has also come back and become a big part of the franchise, and for better or worse at times, made some very memorable moments with St. Louis the second time around. So we love Hull in St. Louis. He loves to be here, it seems, and an absolute legend, maybe the legend of this franchise at this point.
As I've told Blues alumni that have been on this show, that Brett Hull is St. Louis's drunk uncle. That's kind of what I call him, and I know other people call him that too. Yeah. So, and yeah, I mean, we talk about his personality now. He is just a fun-loving, yes, alcohol-loving gentleman. But I mean, the stories that we hear from his playing days, even just the media quotes that we get from him, still to this day that we hear, and it's just, oh my God, this guy just did not give a shit what he was saying at any time. One of my favorite stories ever is the Kelly Chase one that he told, where he I'm probably going to butcher the story, so sorry, Kelly, but they had a game and they had practice in the morning, and Kelly Chase pulls up in Bob Berry's car, and I'm sorry, Brett Hull pulls up in Bob Berry's car as Kelly Chase is exiting the arena, and he's like, "Hey, you want to go east?" And he's like, "No, man. What are you doing in Bob's car?" "Oh, Bob's letting me borrow his car. Let's go." And they go down east. They come back. They get to the arena before practice, and spend all night out. And Brett and Kelly both walk in together, and Bob Berry says, "Kelly, you are benched. You are not playing in the next game. Brett, how you doing?" And he's like, "Well, wait, why does Brett Hull, he's the one that stole the car?" And he's like, "Because he's Brett Hull and you're Kelly Chase." So that's just, I mean, that kind of thing, just, knowing he could get away with stuff, and then just the stuff we've heard, just, there's a couple stories that come out from when he was a Dallas Star, things that he used to say to Hitchcock and other players. I mean, just a quite the personality. And then, to back it up with the goal scoring prowess we saw from him, a former captain of this team numerous times, and then obviously driven out by multiple things, including Mike Keenan, unfortunately. But yeah, just a no-brainer here. Again, not just for the goal scoring, but because of what we know of him off the ice and how beloved he is in this city.
Yeah.
Well, our next reveal, so this one's got a little bit more mystery behind it. So again, the 35th anniversary team had Joe Mullen in this spot. So does he make the cut here? He does not. Reveal number 2 goes to somebody who was on the roster last year. Vladimir Tarasenko is your second right wing on this team. When I first saw that he won second, I was kind of like, well, I'm not really surprised. But then I kind of dug into it a little bit more, and I was like, it's not surprising in terms of, recency bias to a certain extent. Joey Mullen had some good years here. Wayne Babbage is a guy who had a lot of success as a Blue, and then getting into more recent guys like David Backes, TJ Oshie, Greg Paslowski's had huge moments as a Blue. So it is a little surprising to see I don't want to say little surprising. It is very minimally surprising to see Vladimir Tarasenko in this spot. I'll run through his stats here in a minute, but I just want to ask you guys, are you surprised to see Tarasenko right here at number 2? No from Bill.
I'm not.
How about you, Steven?
Yeah, I'm definitely not at all. Got to be honest with you.
Yeah. I agree. Again, recency bias included as well. It's not surprising. And when you look at his numbers here, they're pretty impressive. So again, 4 All-Star games with the Blues, all with the Blues. We'll see if he gets any more in his career, as he is currently a free agent. His best season of the Blue actually came last year. So this was coming off his multiple shoulder injuries. And if anybody who listens to this show remembers, I said Vladimir Tarasenko will never score 20 goals in the NHL again. Boy, was I wrong. His best season came after I said that, so you're welcome, Vladimir Tarasenko. 75 games played, 34 goals, 48 assists, 82 points in 2021-22. Stats for the Blues, number 5 in goals all time at 262, number 7 in assists at 291, number 5 in points at 553, number 4 in even strength goals at 196, number 6 in power play goals at 65, number 3 in game-winning goals at 44, number 4 in shots at 2,058, and tied for 6th in hat tricks at 5th. Again, still a free agent right now, so we'll see where he ends up. I don't think it's going to be St. Louis, but who knows? But anyway, Vladimir Tarasenko, again, not terribly surprising. But your guys' thoughts on Tarasenko being included on this team and his spot at number 2?
Yeah. I think.
Go ahead.
I think he's just sorry. Got the delay. I think it's a no-brainer here personally. I mean, obviously there have been some good options here for right wing that are, also impact players. But I think Vladimir Tarasenko, when you strip it right down to it, has still been the star of this generation of Blues fandom, especially if you're like me, young, very very attractive and handsome and still in the prime of his life. You kind of grew up with Vladimir Tarasenko as really no reaction on that, Jeff, just because it's true. I assume that's
actually
why.
I agree with you. He is a young, attractive man. So
true. But no, you really grew up if you're about my age with him as like the fresh new hope of the team and the new star. So it's no wonder to me that the kind of people that vote in Twitter polls would rank him very high. His numbers are sensational. He won a cup here. He was on the cover of NHL. What was that? 15? Lest we forget NHL 17, maybe somewhere in there.
17. Let me see if I can.
15 does feel a little early now that I mention it. But I mean, from the moment he was drafted, it was excitement. From the moment he debuted against the Red Wings and scored 2 goals, there was excitement about him. He became one of our best goal scorers of all time, number 5 in goals, even in a fairly limited time. Not limited, but shorter time than some of the people on that list. Big part in winning a cup here. I hated that he left, but I understand why, and all the trade rumor stuff did put kind of a sour note on the end of his time here, and that's unfortunate. But I think 5-10 years down the road, people will look back at Vladimir Tarasenko's tenure as a Blue with nothing but positive thoughts and happy memories and all that good stuff.
NHL 17.
There we go.
Yep. All right, Bill, your thoughts
somewhere.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't disagree with anything that anybody said at this point, right? And I'll say that the common thread between these two guys that we revealed tonight, their secret weapon for getting on this list is memorable quotes from the 2019 season. Brett Hull, we went Blues. Vladimir Tarasenko, what's a rub-off mean? Right? These guys are so quotable. But yeah, it's to Steven's point about the sour taste in our mouths with the departure of Tarasenko, he's free agent. He's not coming back here as long as Doug Armstrong's the general manager here. I think there's enough animosity between them that he definitely wouldn't come back without some assurances that there was going to be different management and probably some different ways of taking care of him. So for David Perron, we can talk about him more in the left wing reveal shows, but I think Tarasenko's days are here or done. But for a fan base that we went through so many lean years after Bill Laurie had some teases with Eric Johnson going #1 and golf cart. Sorry, we we had a great pick in Petro, but a kind of a steady as you go defenseman leader from the back line. That's not going to stoke a lot of fire. But when we drafted Tarasenko, when he fell to us in that draft, and we picked him, and he came here after the lockout short season, and like Steven said, that first game against Detroit, our nemesis, the team that we always seem to struggle against, he comes out and it's a completely different story. 2 goals, building was rocking. I think that really set the stage for going forward. The 2019 Cup run, he is definitely a such an important player on that team. You think back to the game 2 goal that he scored in Boston, where he didn't give up on the play, and and I think it was third period, really helped get that game to overtime. He was such an important player, such an offensively gifted, dynamic player. He recency bias aside, I think to Jeff's point, 5 years from now, I think we'll still be sitting here saying he deserves to be here in the top 2 on this list. I don't think Jimmy Snuggerud's going to replace him in that.
not quite yet. No, and I'll say you mentioned that goal in game 2. That for those that don't remember, it's the one where he cut across the crease, and I think the save was made by Rask, and then he just stayed with it, and I think he knocked it out of the air. I mean, it was just a sick goal, and it was just and again, like that's something you show kids as you coach and say, this is why you don't give up on the play. You play until the whistle, and that's how Tarasenko plays. And I love the way he played when he makes that cut move where he comes across the middle and just has a great chance on goal. 9 times out of 10, he's putting it in the back of the net when he can pull that move off. And that was one of the times he did. And again, it didn't look like anything. It looked like a save and cover done or clear to the corner. He stuck with it, and I loved it. Another thing I love about him, and we saw it in the goal against Chicago was that 14 playoffs, the one that sent it to overtime real late. I think it was game 2. When he had the puck, when he would get the puck, and we all know, we always used to bitch about how he couldn't one-time the puck, and it was obnoxious. But when he did have time, and he would drop that shoulder and just fire it. I mean, if you gave that guy time, he could pick a corner with a wrist shot at 90 miles an hour. I mean, it would just laser off his stick. And when you saw that shot coming as a Blues fan, you were like already standing up because you were like, here it comes. This is a goal. And, unless it just hits off a defenseman's face, it's going top corner across the goalie, and we saw him score a couple sick goals off the side of the net off crazy shots. Just a dynamic talent in his heyday. And I think even when he retires from the NHL, I think his greatest moments will always be remembered as a St. Louis Blue, unless he drives Ottawa to 3 Stanley Cups in a row or something, which I don't think is going to happen. I think everyone will remember him as a St. Louis Blue, kind of similar to Brett Hall, even though Hall didn't win his cup here. I think even outside of St. Louis, he's a St. Louis Blue forever. It's going to be the same with Tarasenko. Just so many memorable goals, so many memorable moments. And Bill, you said it. I remember when he was drafted and they asked him, that was the big concern because we just had the Radulov situation happen, a couple other Russian players leave the NHL, and we had, is he going to come over? What's the guarantee he's coming over? And you talk to the kid, he would talk to the media and say, I want to come to St. Louis because I want to win a Stanley Cup, and it was just, I remember even saying that on this show. Like, I believe him. Like, I believe he's not just saying that. He wants to come win a cup. And then he gets it. And what's the first thing he says the next season when they're doing the preseason interviews? I believe he said, one is not enough. We need another one. And it was just, I believe you again, Vladdy. Let's go get another one. And again, say what you want about COVID. I think that's the biggest reason the Blues didn't win another cup. Everybody forgets about that year. They still had Petro after the cup win. I think led by Tarasenko and a couple other guys, I think that could have still happened. But beside that, I think this was he was just a dynamic player, so much fun to watch. It's unfortunate, like Steven said, how his time ended, but man, still, I think in 5, 6, 7 years, we're not going to remember that. I mean, we will, but it's not going to be at the forefront of our minds. We're still going to be thinking about all the great moments he provided us in a Blues jersey. Well, we have got a giveaway. So this will be going to our winner here, a signed Tony Twist. Is this 8x10? Yeah, I guess it's an 8x10. I'm terrible with math, so I don't know measurements. So this will be going to our winner tonight. So we're going to read a couple runner-ups first, and then we will get to the winner. So runner-up, congratulations, A. Fernando's World, who actually has already won one of these. You will not be winning this, but you are at least mentioned on the show. He says, Tarasenko was a player other teams tried to contain. David, as in David Backus, who was in the poll with him. David was a player who contained the other team's best players. In the end, fair or not, David couldn't get us the cup. Vladimir did. And I think that's a great point. And our next one comes from our friend here, Ken Morris. He says, a true superstar, talking about, this was Brett Hall, a true superstar. No other Blues player scored more goals in their stay in St. Louis, and only Gretzky scored more goals in a single NHL season. Hall was a draw not only at the Blues gate, but also at opponents' rinks when playing on the road. He put fans on the edge of their seats. And again, I think we all agree. And here comes our winner. Our winner is Mr. Patrick Yoder, the pie in the sky. He says, sorry, not to be another he was hockey to me guy, but being born in the St. Louis area in 1990, Brett Hall was everything Blues. And being right behind the great one in most stats doesn't hurt. Put Hall of Famer on top of his crazy off-ice antics and memes. Holy is GOAT. Greatest of all time. So Patrick Yoder, you are our winner. Thank you very much. And I will be reaching out to you to figure out how to get you your signed Tony Twist picture. But yeah, I agree with everything Patrick said. Obviously being right behind Wayne Gretzky, being a part of that 96 team that should have won a cup. But yeah, his crazy off-ice antics, that was the stuff that I remember. Bill, you mentioned Scott Trade, Savis, whatever, Keel. I still remember the Brett Hall shooting it and knocking down the old arena. So much stuff. St. Louis, you think of Brett Hall still to this day. Well, our panelist rankings. Again, we've got two more right wings we'll reveal, I believe, next week is the plan, unless the Blues do something crazy, and we have a show that we're going to talk about that. So at number 1, we had Brett Hall. At number 2, we had Vladimir Tarasenko. So we called it right, gentlemen. We have 1 and 2 correct. We'll see if the rest of these continue on. Number 3, the panel had David Backus, number 4, Joe Mullen, number 5, Wayne Babich, number 6, TJ Oshie, number 7, Scott Young, and number 8, Greg Pazlowski. So, again, because Hull and Tarasenko made it this evening, we now have Backus, Mullen, Babich, Oshie, Young, and Pazlowski all battling for those last 2 spots on the team. I don't know if you guys have seen who that is. Please don't reveal if you have. If you haven't, I'd love to hear who you guys think the fans voted in those last 2 spots.
I feel like
If we're talking about who the fans voted in, I gotta say TJ Oshie's gonna be in there. At least if we have anybody that's been a fan for the last 12 years of this team, going with recency bias. Definitely, if we had any girls who were in high school during that time period that are our listeners and voting on this, they'll definitely be voting for him. Yeah, I think that I think we'll see Oshie and Backus get a lot of votes, just because they meant a lot to this team in the last 10, 15 years. I will say that I will be very disappointed if Wayne Babich doesn't get in there, mostly because the story I think I've told on here many times. He hung out with me when I was a kid, went to Philadelphia with the team, and the flight got in early. He hung out with me until my parents showed up, and actually, he was super nice guy. So, and a 50 goal scorer in the early 80s, right? Big time goal scorer for the Blues during that time frame. So,
and a big part of that kid line, the Fedorko, Sutter, Babich line.
Yeah.
What about you, Steven?
I think, to me, that Backus is, I would say, guarantee here, except there's the trickiness of, are some people going to think of him as more of a center? But I would think he'd be more likely than Oshie. I mean, fan popularity is hard to measure, but he was a captain and he was here longer. And Oshie, as much as he was hugely popular when he was here, it's been a long time since TJ Oshie was a Blue. You can't really cite recency bias with Oshie because, God, it's got to have been most of a decade now, which is crazy to think. Not quite. It's been like 7 or 8 years, though. But what would that have been? 2016 he got traded?
I'm trying to think. It was the year so it would have been 15, right?
Yeah, it was 15.
Yeah. So
old.
Yeah, I know. We're all falling apart. But yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that you said, Billy, about, him being beloved and popular. I just think Backus probably takes that recency. I think, to me, just on a merit level, it's down to Backus and one of Babich or Mullen, who are kind of hard to separate just from a statistical perspective. So that'll be, I don't actually know who they are. So I don't risk revealing anything, but it might be, will be very interesting for me to see who actually does make the cut in the fan vote. And it could just be Oshie because of personal popularity.
Yeah, could be. Well, our next poll is going to be coming up Sunday. We'll have our second center poll. If you go over to Twitter right now, it is the pinned tweet for Let's Go Blues Radio at LGB Radio. We will have right now. It is it's until Saturday afternoon, and that'll be the last day for the first poll of center. So if you go on there right now, if you're listening to this before Saturday afternoon, which Saturday is the 14th, 15th. That includes Bernie Fedorko, Red Berenson, Pierre Turgeon, and Doug Gilmour. Very tough center, actually. The center vote is very interesting. So right now it's Fedorko, Berenson, Turgeon, Gilmour. Fedorko, I know, had a lead, as he should, the last I saw, but Pierre Turgeon was on his heels. And, of course, Berenson and Gilmour are getting votes as well. This isn't a landslide by any means. So get in there, vote for your favorite player if you have not done so yet. Remember, that is on Twitter, but a link is also shared on Facebook. So comment why you voted the way you did or why you didn't vote for someone, and you could have your comment featured on the show, and you could win a prize. And I know you guys are sitting here, what the hell is the prize, Jeff? Come on, why haven't you told us yet? Well, it's a player we just mentioned. It is a rally towel for Mr. TJ Oshie. So if you're an Oshie fan, that will be the next giveaway. So we'll see next week what people said about the right wings and why they voted the way they did. You can still go on those old polls and comment, and those will still be entered. There's no time limit here. So if you want to win your Oshie rally towel, get on there and do it right now. So again, folks, we're wrapping up the show here, but I want to go ahead and I'll go ahead and throw it out to our YouTube and Facebook audience as well. If you have any comments, anything you want to say right now about our picks tonight, Brett Hall and Vladimir Tarasenko, any closing thoughts from either of you on who made the first two right wing spots here on the Blues all-time team? I'll take that as a no.
I think this is the chalkiest of all chalky. Places. So can't argue with him.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, all right. Well, again, I don't think I have it figured out yet exactly. I do believe we'll be doing. Let me take a quick look here. Yeah, I do have it scheduled that we'll be doing a reveal show next week. So plan for that on Wednesday if possible. The only reason that we didn't do Wednesday this week is because St. Louis City is playing tomorrow night, so at 9:30. So I did not want to go live at 9:15 and miss the game. So we will be going live next week again, possibly live, maybe pre-recorded. But either way, just stay tuned to us on social media, and we will let you know. Gentlemen, again, a huge thank you. I owe you guys multiple beers for stepping in. There was about a 10-minute span where I thought I was going to do this solo, which we've got a great audience here commenting in the chat. I would have been happy to just roll with talking to them and letting them comment on stuff more. But I was very happy to have you guys join me last minute. So, Bill, thank you very much. I know it wasn't how you were expecting to plan your evening, but thank you for stepping in. And, Steven, to you as well, thank you for stepping in last minute. It was very, very helpful and made us put on a pretty good show. So I appreciate it.
Anytime.
Yeah, sorry for the delays.
Oh, it's quite all right. We deal with much worse on this show. We got to deal with Kurt every week. Come on, man. You know how bad that is. Well, all right, guys. I think that'll do it. Support for Let's Go Blues Radio is brought to you in part by ID Life, the world's only truly personalized vitamin platform based on a health assessment of your DNA. Visit rockinthatidlife.com for more information. That's rockinthatidlife.com and get 10% off by emailing Dustin at rockinthatidlife@gmail.com and tell him Let's Go Blues Radio sent you. And by Mike Burgoyne from Real Brokerage Realty. Visit strikewithmike.com today for all your home buying and selling needs. That's strikewithmike.com. And by Center Ice Brewery, St. Louis's tasty hockey-themed beer. Check out your local beer vendors for availability. That's Center Ice Brewery beer. Please drink responsibly. That will wrap up episode 11 of season 12 of the original St. Louis Blues hockey podcast, Let's Go Blues Radio. Thanks for listening, and thanks to those who participated in the YouTube and Facebook live chats during the live show. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. For Bill Day and Stephen Ground, as well as the absent Kurt Price and producer Austin, I'm Jeff Ponder, and this was Let's Go Blues Radio. Until next time, everyone, let's go Blues. Why don't you guys go ahead and say it at the same time, because maybe Bill will just come in right after Steven.
Let's go Blues.
Let's go Blues. I fucked that up.
No, that was perfect. Perfect.
Sit, Ubu, sit. Good dog.
You thought I was going to say son of a bitch, didn't you?